Hello, everybody. Welcome to the other side of the wormhole. What didn't make it in the But Why Though podcast episode. Today, we're going to talk about episode 8, Horror Matters. As always, I'm your host, Matt, of this, and I'm gonna do this by myself today. For those of you who've never joined or been here before or seen any of the videos, basically, I go through, I look at our the notes and all the stuff that we did, all the research that we did for each episode, and I kind of continue it onto our website and to our YouTube channel, because our episodes are usually only about 45 minutes to an hour, and some of these topics we can talk on for days. Not this episode. This is one of our earlier episodes, and this one actually had a special guest from the Don't Split Up horror podcast, J.R. Foresteros. I totally apologize for butchering that name. But yeah, and this actually episode is probably our longest episode, if not one of our longest episodes. It's 2 hours. Foresteros. Yeah, I give up. I'm sorry, JR. Listen to it. Dang. He's a good friend of the show. He's a really good friend of Kate's as well. If you haven't checked out any of his podcasts, all like 5 or 6 of them he does, you should go do it and check it out. This one's part of Don't Split Up. Is the one that he's from, or one of the main ones he does. He also does one with our other host, Kate. Oh My Wednesday, podcast on the American Gods TV series on Stars. So feel free to check any of those out. But anyway, for people that don't know, this is live on Twitch TV/ButWhyThoughPC, and as I'm told by chat, as I was trying to explain, basically it means we'll have chat going, we'll have interaction, people ask questions, all the stuff I'll fill in. There might be some stuff that go on in the background. Right now it's raining here, so hopefully we don't have any frame droppage or whatnot. But yeah, this is pretty much me winging this together live, talking to everybody, and hopefully people are enjoying it. Basically, I'm told NorvilleRogers.com for all of his castings for JR and whatnot. So, definitely gonna try not to make this show as long as the actual podcast. This was one of our 2-hour super long ones that they had, whatnot. So basically, they go through. They start off with, they want to talk about horror in general. I'm not a big fan of horror movies, horror shows. I guess I like thrillers, which I guess depends on your terminology of how they are. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of horror as a genre and whatnot. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that horror movies and stuff that I've listened to, my thoughts on everything and whatnot. So they start off with, basically they want to look at the horror from the slashers of the 70s and 80s, which I kind of know seen quite a bit of those movies. Apparently the fourth wall breaking of the 90s to found footage resurgence, whatever. Obviously the found footage resurgence, for you guys that don't know, would be like the Blair Witch Project. I guess Cloverfield would count as that one. I've actually seen that movie. I don't know that counts as horror per se. It was kind of not really scary. I think Paranormal Activity, would that count as found footage resurgence? I believe so, which are definitely not scary. I find those kind of entertaining and hilarious, like I guess quite a bit of the horror movies these days. And so I guess we'll start off. When I was a kid, I didn't enjoy these horror movies. I was terrified of some of them. Especially, probably the worst one was the Chucky series. I hate dolls. Maybe that's why, because I hate those movies. I've seen pretty much almost all of them. My siblings and family members used to love annoying and scaring me with those Chucky dolls. It's actually my brother's favorite series, as he's a big fan of horror. I don't know if it's his all-time favorite series, but he's definitely a big fan of the Chucky series. I think he's seen all of them, except for maybe the newest ones that came out in the 2000s, like The Bride of Chucky, which ended up being stupid, and I think there was another one after that nobody even knows existed, unless you're a super hardcore fan. But I hate that little doll. That damn little doll. Yeah. I've seen pretty much almost all the Halloweens as well, movies. Once again, I'm not a fan of like the remake one they came out with, like on the 20th anniversary or so. Guess it wasn't scary. I don't know. Halloween 3 still hilarious to me since A, it has nothing to do with Michael Myers per se, and it has that little song when they're trying to like kill people with those masks or some weird thing like Halloween coming to town. I can't remember this song. It's a stupid little jingle. If you hear it, it'll be stuck in your head for 3 days. So I don't even want to look it up because I don't want to listen to the damn thing. What else we got going here? I've seen a little bit of the Leprechaun stuff. Not much. Hellraiser movies I saw. I guess those are scary. I wasn't really terrified of Hellraiser, I guess. Freddy Krueger's as well. I've seen most of those. Nightmares on Elm Street. Pretty much my family in general, besides guess me and my mother, love horror movies. They love the horror genre. They've watched these movies, the 80s movies, 90s. They used to go and try to scare themselves all the time. So I had to grow up with this. Never cared for them. And I guess when I was a kid, I guess didn't like them and could find them scary. But then, fortunately, as I grew to an adult, I don't really find them that scary anymore because I find them very predictable. You start thinking like logical choices, and they're like, "This is stupid. Like, why would you run back into this house? Oh no, there's a killer to the left, and you ran to the left. Get in the car and drive away? Nah, we're gonna run back over there in that bush and hide." And so they kind of make me laugh a little bit. The Paranormal Activity series, hilarious to me. I feel like it's almost like Mystery Science Theater 3000 when I'm watching that show, with how bad they are. I remember seeing the first one in theaters, and people were like, "People leave," and I saw people leave the theaters. I saw people jumping and like flying around, and I'm like, a door creaked open. Why are we jumping? Ugh. Best thing about that movie was, if you ever want to make a smart business plan, they made that movie for like maybe $15,000 and then made millions of dollars. They filmed that thing in their house with like ketchup. Which hopefully one day we will go into a movie talking about, I believe it's Bloomberg movies, or the Jason Blum movies. Excuse me. That how he makes movies makes them super cheap in a lot of them, and all you gotta do is hit on like 4 out of 10 of them, and you make a ton of money. It made Boomhouse. There we go. I was told by chat, Boomhouse. Yeah. When you're, especially if you're like a big movie buff, and you're like I presented art and everything else, and you see the way they do movies, and you're like, this is kind of depressing in its giant business adaptation model. It's kind of sad, but anyways, so yeah, so I've seen quite a bit of horror movies, even though I don't really care about it. Monster movies, I guess it depends on what you count as. I'm trying to think even horror monster movies in general, because I've seen, like I said, probably more of the like what's it called? I guess slasher type movies over stuff. I don't care for zombie movies. I find them boring. I don't really care for zombies at all in general. I'm not a fan of The Walking Dead. Sue me. I'm sorry. I don't like the Resident Evil video games that much. I own Left 4 Dead video games. They were both bought for gifts for me, and they were fun to play with somebody, but it doesn't bother me that much. I do not like zombies in Call of Duty. I think it's a boring game, or a boring aspect. I get it, and I like the survival of like some other stuff, which is weird because I do like Gears of War Horde mode, which is kind of this whole round of like, basically it's a survival round system they do in a lot of new games. I think it's not new games. It had its little thing. It started off with zombies from Call of Duty. Gears of War added it. I believe Mass Effect has it as well. Basically, you try to board up and basically just survive each round as they send more and more enemies at every round at you until you can, how long you last. Let's see what else we got. Splatter horror, gore. Gore's whatever. Gothic horror. Natural. natural horror, often adventure, horror, monster, psychological. Psychological and crazy. I believe the show is what is that? Trying to think what. I keep wanting to say Neighbors, but it's not Neighbors. It's Strangers maybe. The Strangers possibly. Now I gotta think of what the heck this name movie is. Anyways, basically it starts out with basically the people come to the door and they keep ringing the doorbell. And they hear like, "Don't answer the door, don't answer the door." Another one of those movie things of like, why are you like answering the door, idiot? Especially when you look outside and there's like people in like masks or something weird. And you're like, don't do this. And as all movies, they answer the door. And obviously they come inside eventually. They end up murdering in this crazy, like, messed up, like, these people go. They torture these people and then eventually, like, kill them or leave them for dead. And then drive off like nothing happened the next day. Like, it's cool. That was kind of a creepy movie. But then again, don't answer the damn door. Psychological ones, I guess depending on how you like Saw. I enjoy the first two Saws. I thought were really good. After that, I kind of like, okay, now they're just money grabs. The first Saw I thought was great. I loved the ending of the first Saw. If I ruin it for you, I don't care. It's been about 10, 15 years at this point. Watching that guy get up after the other dude cut his foot off and crawling out and all the death of Danny Glover and everything. That dude just been like, you thought was dead on the floor the entire time, just stands up like nothing happened. Like, what up? And then just walks away. That was awesome. So, I love the first Saw. I do like the choices sometimes they have in some of the movies, like especially in that one. It's also kind of hilarious with the psychological ones, how people just turn on each other, like, so fast, and, like, human nature kicks in. I guess it says survival. I don't know if those would be considered survival, but I guess those survival instincts of, like, all of a sudden, like, we're just gonna kill people because I can live. And it's just, I guess, I mean, I think horror might, I want to say it possibly over-exaggerates some of these instincts, but it just happens in everyday life and everything. It's just, like, how fast people go from, like, hi, I'm your neighbor, howdy ho, to, if we kill these people, or we leave these people out to dry, we live. And it's amazing how fast the humans and people in general just turn, like, super fast when it comes to survival or for their own needs. I don't know if it counts as a horror movie. It's not necessarily a horror movie. It's more of a psychological, I guess, thriller that I really enjoyed. Was what's it called? The Exam, I believe is what it's called, where they put people in a room and they say, answer the second question, in which you don't know, and you have 4 hours to do it for this amazing, crazy job, and nobody even knows what the question is, and they're trying to, like, figure everything out and whatnot, and these people go crazy trying to figure all this out. It gets so bad to, like, they even, like, try to, like, they take, like, the security guards just sitting there with a gun, and, like, they're trying to kill each other for this job or something. Nobody ends up dying, and they find out just all a test, and the simple question was no, or the simple answer was, like, no. But I find those, the psychological, I mean, I don't think it's really necessarily horror. It wasn't terrifying or anything, but the watching people psychologically break down is, I guess it's bad to say, but fascinating to me. I'm told it's a great example of a psychological horror. Yeah. Like I said, there's not really horror, but just the psychological breakdown of people is bad. But I find it fascinating. I find it very interesting. I guess an interesting bad term, I guess, depending on, but the mental toughness of how people take before they break, I find fascinating. I know this is a pop culture podcast and stuff, and maybe not right, but that's why I find Batman very fascinating, especially the way they portray him in a lot of the cartoons and animated series and whatnot. Especially when they, like, he gets put in stuff or tranquilized, they're like how hard his mind is. Obviously, some of it might be a little overplayed, but you know, they're like Deadman, I believe, then the Constantine, one of the newest, I think it's, Justice League Dark, where Deadman takes over Batman's mind. He's like freaking getting kicked out, and they're like, I can't even understand any of this. Deadpool's another one where people, when they see his mind, just like shatter. It's, yeah. So if I'm gonna go with a horror genre I do like, it would be that. Home invasions I find interesting. I guess I don't know if Scream and them count. I've seen them. I honestly prefer Scary Movie, the first two, when they kind of made fun, or at least the first one when they made fun of Scream more than I actually enjoyed Scream. The sub-ending of it, kind of like, what the hell, this is weird. Exorcism ones, they're a little freaky, I guess. I don't really care about them. Yeah, I don't really care about exorcism ones. Like, I've seen The Exorcist. If you haven't, I do find it amazing. Ooh, big ol' lightning. Sorry, everybody. I do find it amazing and fascinating about The Exorcism, the original one, like the I believe it's 78 movie, to where when that movie came out, people had to be put in like hospitals or like almost like psychiatric care because it was so scary and like, I guess like insane to like the people of that time frame. Which I hope they talk about that in this show. Oh, they have 60s, Alfred Hitchcock, Poco, Exorcist, yes, and The Omen, the start of the new in the 70s. Yeah. So I just remember hearing about from like talking to older people and stuff when that movie came out, and like how much like almost like psychological damage that movie did to like certain people. It was like, whoa, this is crazy. Because we watch it now and you're like, oh, that's scary, you know, the girl up in your head. But back then that was like mind blowing. And then obviously when you bring in the whole religious aspect of everything else and demons and everything else, people were just, back then obviously it was a different time frame, and older generation tend to be more religious and have all the stuff with demons, and just how crazy that was for those people. Like I can't think of a movie that's come out, at least during my time frame, or my time frame. I live in a time frame. During my lifetime that been like that changing. I know Paranormal Activity kind of changed a lot of things, or I guess like even the Blair Witch Project when it came out. Even I don't think that was great. I feel like Paranormal Activity kind of did more than Blair Witch, but then again, it was a little different. I didn't really care as much, and I watched Paranormal. I've seen a few of those, if not almost all of them. Because just how freaky those were, and then they became super popular where they were making one all the time. So, yeah, and then obviously they have like The Omen, which I can't even take The Omen seriously. If you have a chance, or if you want to and you really want to think people make fun of, whatever you regard or think about, Daniel Tosh, when he makes fun of a movie, does an Omen recap. It's hilarious, and that's all I ever think about when I hear The Omen. People thought Blair Witch was real. They made a fake documentary that everyone believed. Yeah, I do remember reading about that, and people thinking it's real. I guess honestly I never thought it was real, so I guess that's why it didn't whatever as me. Which kind of leads me to a little thing about this whole thing about like based on a true story, which is like so overblown sometimes and so bad. I think we watched the movie The Cove, and it's like based on a true story in which Reed Richards, Fantastic Four guy, and like a few other people go in this cove, things go bad, like everybody dies but one person, and then come find out it's based on the story in which 28 people got hit in a cove, a flood, they kind of waited it out, and then they kind of like swam to, and then they kind of got flushed out underneath the tunnels out to sea, everybody lived, end of story. Like this whole based on a real story or real events or something, it's literally like I write about an entire murder going on at Walmart or 7-Eleven. I'm like, based on a true story, because somebody happened to go to 7-Eleven one night. Now, not all of them are like that, but at least I like to look up every time I see it. I've also become a fan, or not a fan, but I am a fan of if we should just put based on a real story or real events on every movie. Like Transformers just came out, put based on a real story or based on real events. and just see how many people like lose their mind this day and age. Because the sad part is there's still probably like 20% of people, I feel like, maybe not 20%, maybe like 4% of people that go see that movie might be like, I think this might be real. This happened. So, yeah. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This was the 70s. The Hills Have Eyes. Obviously, I think depending on which Texas Chainsaw Massacre you're talking about. I don't know if The Hills Have Eyes came out. I know it was like in the 2000s, I thought. It might have been a remake. Really didn't... Black Christmas. I didn't really care for any of those movies. I get the violence. To me, this looks like Texas Chainsaw. This to me reminds me if I'm just going to go drive out to the boonies one day in Texas and say, hey, how you doing, man? And somebody probably out there making moonshine or a meth lab, and they probably have a cut up body somewhere. That's about what I expect when I drive out there. I don't need to make a movie about it. I can read a newspaper article. Friday the 13th, I've seen a few of those. I wasn't a big fan. I didn't really care for them. My brother and them loved them as well. Kate actually loved the new game they came out with, Friday the 13th, the game. It's a horror genre game, which I think is actually really well done. Unfortunately for the game, they've had server issues and some other problems because they didn't think it was going to be that popular, but apparently it was, and I thought it was really, really good. I've never played it, but I've watched people play it, and I've watched Kate play it plenty of times, and I've watched people on Twitch play it quite a bit. I find it very awesome and well done. I think it's great. The premise is one person, Jason. You can unlock different types of Jasons from each of the movies, and then the rest of the people, they have 7 people, or you have 7 people per lobby. They throw you on a lobby, and then all of a sudden one person becomes Jason. The 6 other people have to survive. Either you have to like phone the cops, kill Jason, but it takes like 7 different things to do. It's very, very difficult to do. Or get a car and drive away. I'm not sure if there's another way exactly, but yeah, pretty much something like that. And why Jason's going around killing people. I thought the game was great. Some of the stuff when people got better, there seemed to be some gimmicky type things that I wasn't sure. I know there came a problem as well where people work together with Jason depending on the lobbies, and that kind of got a little boring to watch. When people are like helping them out, either kill them and start killing each other or something. It was kind of funny when people got betrayed every now and then, but for the most part, whatnot. But yeah, it's probably a game you should check out if you do. I think it's on all systems, I believe. It's pretty cool. I believe they got a lot of patching it done. Let's see, The Thing. I actually enjoy The Thing. The 1982 version. I think there's one in the 60s. I don't know if they talk about that one in here. I don't believe that is. The Thing was pretty cool. Pretty interesting. Haven't obviously seen it in a long time. I'm trying to think. That was not... I almost wanted to say that was the one with The Rock in it, but I believe that's Doom. So yeah. Poltergeist. All I ever think about when I hear Poltergeist is Chris Rock, I believe, stand up from about like 20 years ago of saying... Or maybe it's Dave Chappelle, one of the two, I can't remember. Oh no, we heard a little girl in the car, or she got put in the TV, like, oh, she's only 3 years old, we don't need her, let's just leave. Nah, we need to go save her. Like, Poltergeist, get out of the house, leave. That's all you gotta do, no big deal. Nightmare on Elm Street, you kind of talked about. Obviously, I've seen those. People don't sleep, get it. They talk about B-movie cult classics like Evil Dead, Fright Night, Gremlins, The Lost Boys. I like Gremlins. Gremlins is funny. I think Gremlins is cool. I know it's supposed to be a horror movie, but I just don't think it's a horror movie. Surprising, I don't see Critters on here. I don't know if that was a B-movie cult classic, but I thought Critters was pretty cool. I'm not sure when that... I think that was the 80s as well. I believe there's 2 of those. That, to me, Critters was more, I guess, scary than Gremlins was. Critters was a little creepy there for a little bit. Best we can say. But Gremlins I like. Remember, don't feed your Gremlins after midnight or put them in the pool. Oh, we forgot. I was told Tremors. Tremors is one of my favorites. That probably, if we're gonna go with those cult classics, Tremors is my favorite. I've seen every Tremors movie except I believe the sixth one or seventh one, which I think I've seen part of it, but I think it was released only like maybe 5 years ago. You wouldn't even have known. But I do love the first like two or three. Definitely great movies. uh, the people like, you gotta get up high, and he jumps on a tire or something like that. If you haven't seen Tremors, Tremors is great. I don't even know like what creature that is. I just like the whole premise of it. I think it's also hilarious, especially this day and age when you think about one of the main characters who ends up playing in like I think almost all the movies. He ends up being like some crazy dude who's like a giant hunter, and then you think he's like the crazy-eyed guy who like lives in a giant fort out in the middle of the desert, and you're like, why is this dude doing this? And so like finds out because he's like secured in a bunker because he's been terrified of Tremors in like all 6 movies or something, 5. It's hilarious when you think about the actuality. I guess because I've worked in the desert before, I've seen like the people who live out in the desert, the people that think the FBI are radioed into your head. They actually do exist. It's quite interesting. So yeah. Yeah, I guess some of those movies, I don't know if they have it on here per se, but people being broke down and stuck in places kind of sucks. I think like I'm trying to think what they have. I think like I can't even tell you what it's called. But like basically the truck stops and truckers and movies that make you hate all truckers and never want to stay away from them. Not that truckers are bad people or anything, but just like the way they're portrayed in a lot of the movies probably doesn't do them any justification and whatnot. I guess hitchhikers and whatnot. Let's see. They talk about the 90s. Oh, they go to CGI. Let's see. Species. That was funny. Basically just a hot chick going around boning people and killing them. Anaconda. I guess that was a scary movie. All I remember is I think Jennifer Lopez played in that. Yeah. And not Ice Cube. Was it Ice Cube? Might have been Ice Cube. They played in Anaconda as well. Mimic. I thought that movie was awful. I didn't think that was weird. Little autistic kid with spoons. Yeah. They have Blade on here. I didn't think Blade was considered. I thought that was a superhero movie and not an actual horror movie. I guess because it has vampires in it, it counts. Sure. To reconnect with the audience, horror became more self-mocking, ironic, and outright parodic in the later half. Peter Jackson, brain dead, known as Dead Alive, blah, blah. Upsets the 90s horror movies, low budget, barely scripted. They would be given cards with emotions and they would add to. Yeah, I can totally believe that. Found footage, yeah. Blade was a horror comic book, I guess. Sure. Cool. That's all I have to say about that for the most part. Wormhole mentioned Man Bite Dog in 1992. Found Monterey. No. Cujo would be the only dog movie we talk about on this one. Seen that one. 2000 torture porn. Yeah, remember that when that took off. That was weird. The Hostel series. Hostel series make people hate hostels. I hear all about this, and you think that you see that in movies and whatnot, but I know people who've stayed in plenty of hostels, and they have no problem staying in them. They've stayed in hostels in Europe. They've stayed in hostels in Africa. Don't let these movies like scare you. Obviously, they're not like 4-star hotels or anything, but they're not as bad as what people say they are. So yeah, Human Centipede. We are just going to move on. I refuse to acknowledge that. People who are obsessed with that or love that, you have more problems. Reboots and sequels. I didn't like that they've done a lot of reboots, but then again, I guess I kind of understand. But it seems like when they reboot a lot of these movies, I don't know if they try to make them. It seems like they're a little more gory than what the original ones were, or I guess a little more action. I guess you want to call it action packed and more like actual like scenes. Like if I think of the Halloweens and whatnot, because I do remember when a lot of the older movies, it just seemed like as much as there were people dying and whatnot, it wasn't like this huge ordeal to be a horror movie. Like it didn't have to have like blood flying everywhere and whatnot. They've also done like, I guess not necessarily studies, but type of like obviously not study type thing, but like with music and how music can totally change an entire movie around. I'm sure it's been done on multiple occasions and whatnot, but I think horror definitely had the music and the, I guess, tempo and stuff of horror shows, at least in my opinion, from like some of the older stuff, that can make or break how like almost scary or creepy something is, it seems like. Let's see. We're not going to talk about Shyamalan's whatever stuff he ended up making. I did see The Happening. I saw it in theaters. I thought it was hilarious. I probably have issues. I thought it was hilarious. I literally thought it was a comedy when I left. Then the fact that I worked with plants and the whole thing dictated on the fact that plants were trying to kill people made it even more hilarious to me. So, yeah. Drag Me to Hell didn't... See, a lot of these stuff that came out, I don't even know if... I guess they're scary, and I guess if I saw them, it might be a little creepy and whatnot, but I just think the premise, it just doesn't seem great. I will say something about The Descent, and I know my brother will never watch this because he's so antisocial, but I remember him going to The Descent, and he got so terrified, they had to leave the movie theater for a little bit. He was like, almost like crying, and it was hilarious. I think we still make fun of him, me and his dad, to this day about that movie Descent, and all he ever says is shut up, that movie was scary. I don't know why. He says he don't even know why. He watch horror movies. They go to them every single time they're released. They go to the movies. They love them, everything. But for some reason, something about The Descent on that day drove him to the breaking point of horror movies for that day, because he was so scared. So yeah. I talked about Saw already. Final Destination. Once again, I enjoyed the first few Final Destinations. I think the first two are... I've seen definitely the first two. I believe the third one I've seen, or most of it. After that, kill it. Maybe it's not that I don't like movies after the third one, but a lot of these horror movies, they bring them back. They end up being gimmicky, and then they try to make... Then they become more ridiculous. And then once you get certain ridiculous, I'm like, okay, I can't do it anymore. Like, this is just dumb. I think, like you saw the preview of, I think, Final Destination 4, like, they're at NASCAR, and a wreck happens, and a tire shoots out of a stadium, flies off there, and lands on somebody and kills them. Like, really? That's what we come up with today? I thought the first Final Destination was pretty good. I liked the premise of the movie. I thought it was cool. Cheating death. And the whole, like, came back. I thought that was a really cool premise. I don't know what it was based on. Yeah, the second one wasn't bad as well. But yeah, the first one I thought was really good when I saw it. Saw it actually in a hotel first time, which was crazy considering they had the lights and the fixtures and how the movie went. Because our house had a giant crack in it, which I still to this day blame on a stuffed penguin. Which is a totally different story, which we will not go into. I like that little penguin though. But then the foundation went off, and so it flooded. But anyways, I remember watching that in the hotel room, and the light fixtures and everything that went off looked exactly like in the movie, and I was like, whoa, this could be a little weird. But my name's not Tom, so we're okay. I believe that's the name of Tom in that movie that died right off the bat. But yeah. 2010s, shift in horror, slow burn, yeah. Ability, let's see, themes and potential. For those of you wondering, I'm kind of going through our show notes because I was not on this episode. Like I said, so I've been going back and kind of giving my own thoughts on what I thought about all these episodes since I was not at the time I host. And so, yeah. the later ones, when I do take over, it's more of like, you know, I can add more stuff, you know, and kind of know, since I did a lot of research, is how I came up with the premise of the show. Because when you go down and research, I end up on these wormholes, and like I was talking about a stuffed penguin earlier. Yeah, that's what happens. But on these, I like to follow the show notes, know what they talk about when they were doing this, you know. Maybe I can answer from people if they've left, you know, if they listen to it and they happen to, you know, miss something they want to see, you know, in my remarks and whatnot. So yeah. People make people feel, make people believe. What horror does is build investment characters on a prime level. Yeah. Final Girls was so prevalent. Yeah. Ray, the first to die. I think another thing about horror movies, I don't know what they were going with. I guess they're talking about, the race of people, it looks like, and these type of things. But I do know the first death in a lot of these movies are always so predictable, especially of late, where you're like, we know this person's gonna die, just get it over with. Yeah. Morgan Freeman type unravels the situation for protagonists. Jeepers Creepers, awful. Especially the second one. The second one was so bad. The first one, not that bad. Second one, second one was just blah. So yeah. They talked about Morgan Freeman, and the best thing I can think of, probably bad. Talk about like scary movies, which, by the way, looking at here, and I'm looking, and what I do not see under here, and I guess it counts under monsters, the fact that Jaws is not on this thing, unless I have somehow missed it in these 6 pages of notes, which I have not, it looks like. Jaws is not on here is kind of very sad to me. For one, that literally had been a movie that, one, not only terrified people all the time. I mean, even me to this day, I think about Jaws when you go in the water. Who cannot? And whatnot. But also the fact that because of Jaws, they've nearly like killed an entire species to extinction. Literally because of this movie, like, so much. I mean, obviously there's been other problems, but like the Japanese and their damn shark fin soup, you know, that's when. But when this movie came out, like, people were so terrified of the water and vengeance. People were just killing sharks and like so terrified and feared from them. Nearly killed entire species. So I'm actually disappointed that is not on here. I'm actually very disappointed that's not on here. But yeah, Jaws, I've seen all the Jawses. Jaws 3 in the aquarium, most awful. It has a roaring Jaws. He makes like noises when he swims. Hilarious. Go listen to it. So yeah, those are also pretty. Some of the stuff pretty bad. I mean, I think they're on a boat. I think it's either 2 or 4. When they're out in the ocean, a helicopter tries to land, and Jaws attacks and sinks a helicopter. Come on now. But yeah, first movie, great, but still, that was also another movie that really definitely scared people quite a bit. Very disappointed actually now. Sorry, but this fact that I don't see Jaws at all in here. The fact that I have Jennifer's body and stuff in here, and Blade for comic, but no Jaws. Orca was another movie that they tried to make it off of the Killer Whales for Free Will, but I guess Free Willy. Well, Free Willy came afterwards, but still, redeemed Killer Whales. Didn't really do as much, but Jaws definitely did. I guess that'd be Monsters. I guess I do, depending on how you go. So yeah. Whew. I'm just looking at all the other stuff. Oh. Why I was talking about sharks in the first place, and I got sidetracked. Deep Blue Sea. Saw on my cousin's birthday a long time ago. Remember, ate cake afterwards. But I didn't really care to see it because I knew it was expect. Shark movies bother me because, one, not so much that they're scary, and one, I just don't like how they portray sharks a lot of times because it's definitely overblown. It's very kind of sad because, one, I've seen sharks in person. I've been in a shark cage with them. I pet them at aquariums. Obviously not the giant ones, but the baby like nurse sharks and whatnot. But I mean, I've swam with like what's it called? Not the makos. It might have been a mako. There was a few makos and some not really tiger shark, but some of the bull sharks. No, bull sharks are aggressive. Now I'm trying to think what they are. I have to think. Sorry. Anyways, the way they're portrayed in the movie, disappointing. For one, it ends up leading to people. I mean, especially from Jaws, like I said earlier, killing these animals and being terrified of these animals. When yes, these animals will attack you if they need to. They're animals. You're going into their habitat. What do you expect, But I just don't like the way they're portrayed. They're portrayed a lot more aggressive than they really are. They're usually definitely overblown. And I just don't like the way it is, because they're not just man-eating machines. Obviously, yeah, they're apex predators. They need to kill stuff to live. People don't think about it, but you kill a lot of stuff to live too. You just don't see it, and it's kind of hidden from you every day because it's in a factory or a slaughterhouse. But yeah, so I don't like that. But anyway, Deep Sea, still one of the most hilarious things. There've been so many things done about it. I know Dave Chappelle had a great skit. Samuel L. Jackson being eaten by a shark, jumping out of the water after telling the story of surviving avalanche and having to eat somebody. Hilarious. When I first saw it, it was a little terrifying. It's like, oh my gosh! But then after that, hilarious. Till this day, all I ever think about is like, a shark ate me. And I'm trying not to cuss, but Samuel L. Jackson going crazy with the shark, yelling about a shark ate him. Which is also funny because I watched Justice League, the second one, where Aquaman, talking about that, and Black Manta also did the exact same thing, and a giant shark, who definitely over-portrayed as a lot larger than real shark, jumped out of the water and ate him as well. Hilarious. So what do? Do not give out speeches near ocean waters. Sharks will jump and kill you. They do not like speeches, apparently. So yeah. Let's see what we got going on here. So I think I'm about to wrap this one up. Is there any questions for anybody? Let me see. I'm checking chat and all here. Nuclear family, need for, religion and society extras. Looks like I don't really see anything going on. Any last thoughts? Alright, we'll go ahead and let's call that a wrap up. So, thanks everybody for listening and tuning in here. As always, this has been the other side of the wormhole. What didn't make in the episode, or as I like to call it. Oh, is there a good shark movie? Like a shark movie that's like positive and shark reinforcement, or like just shark movie that's horror genre? Also, wait, since I am on Twitch, there's like a 20-second delay, so when I say something, it let chat catch up. That's why I'm like staring sometimes, and you're like, oh, why is he like thing? A positive shark movie? Shark diversity. I mean, they do a lot of documentaries. All shark matter. Yes, they do. They really do. Before probably these past 5 years, unfortunately, or so, I did watch almost every single year. I watched the Shark Week. This was before it became like almost a running joke, unfortunately. At one time, I was a marine biologist in college, or at least I was majored in that. Didn't end up finishing there. And I started at look at that, went from computers to sharks and fish to plants, life. But anyways, Shark Week on Discovery Channel, when it first came out and back in its, I guess, golden days, as they like to say, it had a lot of great shows and informational shows. I don't really watch it of late. For one, they pushed it and they keep changing the time in the summer, and either I'm busy, whatnot. Obviously, I don't even have cable TV anymore, but from what I've seen that they come out, there's been so many like fabricated, dumb like mockumentaries or whatever, documentaries, or like almost like Blair Witch Project type shark stuff. Hell, they even had mermaids at one time, which I don't think that was it. But yeah. So they have have you heard of Ben Toll's YouTube? No, I have not. He is my other friends. That's cool. That's cool. So yeah. As I said, I used to like a lot of their shows because they were actually very educational. I did like when Mythbusters like 10 years ago did a shark episode when they hosted Shark Week. I did like when they had a lot of hosts that they brought from a lot of their shows. I also think, I'm not 100% sure because it's been, like I said, quite a few years since I've been into marine biology, but unfortunately the learning of everything they can learn is kind of slowed down. Like I think it's also kind of led to some of these shows is because they're just not making groundbreaking discoveries every single year. Because, you can keep doing it, but eventually you're going to come to, like, a plateau. It's where they're still learning and still finding better and more, stuff to do and better, I guess, livelihood and more habitat diversity and how they breed and everything else. But you're just not finding these great, crazy shows. Or discoveries, sorry. I do like what Australia, I believe it does. They actually tag sharks and they actually run their own Twitter accounts. Video I want you to watch right now, the Benny T Show Season 2, Episode 6. Well, I will, but I kind of can't watch it right now. Unfortunately, because I'm in the middle of recording, though. But I will put that as a note to watch at some time. So yeah. But anyways, so now that I got off, I've been talking about sharks for a while. So yeah. Is there any actual questions? Back to horror here before I wrap up the show on episode 8, Horror Matters, the extra part of the But Why Though podcast. Well, I think that's about all we're going to do here for this episode. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This has been episode 8, Horror Matters, on the other side of the wormhole for the But Why Though podcast. Feel free to tune in. We release new episodes every week, every Wednesday. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, so forth. Feel free to check us out on our website at butwhythoughpodcast.com and our YouTube channel, But Why Though PC. As always, I'm your host, Matt, and you can find me on Twitter at datm18, which is been going across the bottom of the screen if you've been watching this on Twitch. If not, it's spelled DATTM18. Thanks, and have a great night.